All right, guys, we are here with Khalil Foley, and we have a really great interview. We're going to be talking about ads, how ads has changed his business. Now, just to give you some context, Khalil joined PTBI, I think it was about 2 years ago. I'll never forget it. I was in Chico partying with my brother, visiting him, and I got a call from our closer, Ryan. He was like, "We got this kid on the line. He needs a little bit of a push," and you joined. And I know it was a big step for you at the time. But over the course of a year, he also invested in the takeover. We got him set up with a virtual assistant, with the assistant coach. We also taught him how to run ads, and he has been on his own 2 feet ever since. So it's been about a year, maybe a little bit more, since you and I worked together one on one
Mhm.
in takeover. But it sounds like things have been going super smooth. So I just want to pick your brain, how ads was able to change your business because you've been running one ad for a good amount of time now, right?
Yeah, for it's August now, like 9, 10 months.
Damn, that's
Yeah,
impressive, bro.
yeah,
That's impressive. All right, let's start from the beginning then. So, where were you before you started running ads? What was your business like? What level were you currently at? Like, give me everything the before story, before ads.
yeah. It's funny. Before ads, I think we were doing like somewhere between like 8 and 12K a month. Um, a lot of people told me like don't do ads, don't start running them until you're at least at like everyone had like their own arbitrary numbers, like, oh, you gotta be at 20K, you gotta be at 50K, you gotta be at 100K before you start. I started and started on 8 to 12, started getting a lot more consistent lead flow. Um, I mean, things were kind of tough at first working with cold leads, but once I really nailed down like a sales process, like how to actually walk people through the right way, building rapport, and kind of just like selling them on who we are, what we do. I mean, things really came up from there. And now we're doing consistent 25, 30K months. So ramp things up. And I mean, at this point, the only thing holding us back from scaling is just hiring more team members to
Yeah.
support.
I love that, dude. I love that because I always say once you introduce ads, you start to realize that there's other areas of your business besides just leads.
Yeah.
Once you have the leads, you realize, oh, there's other things that I could work on besides just content, just lead generation, etc. Um, but I want to go back to something that you talked about. You were around the 8 to 12K month mark. People were saying you need to be at a certain level to start running ads, but you didn't listen. What did you start with in terms of ad spend? And what were those first few weeks to few months like while you were figuring it out?
Yeah. I think I started with between like, it was around a thousand bucks a month. So I think what's that like 30, 35 a
Yeah.
day, something
Mhm.
like that. Which honestly was kind of scary. Uh, it was scary. I think the first few months, I mean, I was taking a lot of losses. I mean, like I thought the lead quality was bad, but in
Mm.
reality, like my sales process was just complete garbage.
Mhm.
Uh, so first few months, I mean, I think we broke even on the ads, first few months, and then after that, and really working with Ryan actually to like nail down the sales process. That's when we really started to see a lot more profit off of them.
Gotcha. So what were you missing in terms of your sales process that made the biggest difference?
It was really just like switching between like, talking to people who already know, like, and trust you versus complete strangers.
Hmm.
And when you're talking to complete strangers, it's a whole lot different. Everything from like messaging, like in the DMs, to the disco call, like how you frame things on the disco call, how you even frame the disco call, giving free resources, lead magnets, um, and then really focus on building rapport throughout the entire process in terms of like texting people, sending remind personal, like really making things personal, kind of going above and beyond with that because everyone's doing the Calendly reminders, everyone's doing that kind of stuff. So I think that's what really made the biggest difference. It's kind of like death by a thousand cuts.
Yeah. Dude, it's crazy because I'm in a mastermind where I teach ads, and in this mastermind, it's all organic. So everything, it's a lot of like influencers that have like 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 or 50,000 follower accounts they're all
Mhm.
doing like, 40, 50,000 a month. And then they turn on ads and they can't close anyone. And they're like, ads doesn't work. This, and I read their conversations. I'm like, yo, these people don't know you. Like, they
Yeah.
don't know you. They don't care. Like, they do not care. And so when you offer them a call, you have to think what's in it for the prospect. You have to position the call as valuable to them. And it's not just like you reach out to a lead and they fangirl because they've been following you for two
Yeah.
years and you finally reached out. It's not this. It's like it's a whole different ball game. So that's very.
Not,
Oh, what's up?
yeah, dude. I mean, not only do they not care, but people are skeptical, like
Yes.
at hell, like more skeptical than ever. I think Ravi Abuvala says this, like we're in a trust recession. And
Yes.
it, I mean, everyone's running ads, everyone's, doing outbound, everyone's doing cold outreach. It's people are getting hit from 1,000 different ways.
Yeah. No, that's fire. Yeah, and it's interesting that like everyone's like everyone talks about automation, man. Like automation, automation. I'm like, dude, I try to do as little as automation as possible in the sales process because it really does make that big of a difference. Like
No,
just a simple manual text reminder for a sales call is
yes.
makes a big difference. Um, but let's go ahead because I know that you have been running the same ad for about 9 months now.
Mhm.
How many iterations did you go through before you found that ad? How did you know that this was the ad that like, hey, I can stop here because this ad's producing for me and I'm just going to keep running this
Right.
one? Like, how did you get to that point?
Yeah. My strategy with ads is I mean, I would say it's pretty unique compared to like what I see a lot of people doing. I know a lot of people because I'm not spending like relatively that much compared to, probably yourself, a lot of other guys doing 100 plus a month. I mean, it takes a lot longer for ads to like actually fatigue.
Mm,
Um, which I mean, just kind of hearing different people talk about it. But ultimately, I mean, the reason, like, kind of the way I knew, like, it was a winner, the way I knew, like, it was gonna stick, is the cost per message was really low, and I was getting good leads on like 9 out of 10 of the like people who message the keyword. So I mean, good leads, low CPM. I mean, at that point, it's kind of just up to me and my team to like
mhm.
get them across the finish line.
Yeah, that's a great point. How do you know that the leads are good leads? Because I feel like a lot of people, if like the leads aren't like, I don't know, if the leads aren't like ready to throw their credit card in the DMs, then they're like, these leads are bad. So how
Right.
did you decipher like, okay, these leads are good, these leads are bad?
Yeah, I mean, you just gotta, you gotta talk to them, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it sounds pretty self-explanatory, but talk to them in the DMs. Depending on like whether or not you have, VAs in your account, setters, closers, whatnot. I mean, like all of it's like stuff I kind of lead from the front. It's like,
Mhm.
I'm gonna be in the DMs, obviously not all day, but I'm gonna still be in there, making sure things are going smoothly, seeing like who were actually coming in the door. Same with the, disco calls, same with closed calls. So it's like, are they like ready to invest? Are they in a position to? Are they, ready to like really change their life? And if the answer is like those things is yeah, like then it's a pretty good lead, you know?
Mhm. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Um, so have you having the ad process, have you, fully switched over to like an ad lead gen system? Do you still work organic or do you kind of,
Yeah.
coast knowing that the ads are going to be bringing in leads?
Yeah. Dude, I'm not gonna lie. I got pretty lazy with organic. In different kind of spurts. I think a combination of both is the winner at the end of the day. Maximizing organic, but also the thing with ads is it adds fuel to your organic, to the
Mhm.
content you're posting, your stories. I mean, store engagement went up tremendously. People voting on polls, people engaging with recent posts. It just, I think you said this when I started running ads, like, you know, you're just basically pouring fire on or pouring fuel on like whatever fire you already have. And if your account is shit and it's not helping anyone, like a lot more people are going to see shit. And
Yeah,
it's like, that's kind of all it's really doing. So, I mean, the combination of the two, I think ultimately is like the best route to go.
absolutely, dude. Yeah, it's relieving to know that you're just going to be constantly bringing in new eyes. And yes, your content does need to still be good, but you don't have to rely on your content to go viral to bring in new eyes. So like the
Yeah,
content serves the purposes. Yes, it still needs to nurture leads, but the ads are going to bring in new eyeballs to be nurtured by your organic content, but you don't have to rely on the organic anymore to bring in an inbound lead or to hopefully you get a new follower from, a post and, then you're shit out of luck if it doesn't go anywhere.
yeah.
Yeah. What would you say needs to be in place before a coach is ready to run ads? Like what kind of checklist would you say like this needs to be, where you need to be before you start running ads?
You got to track, man. You got to track your KPIs and do so consistently. I mean, like everything as far as how many like outbound messages you're sending, how many calls you're booking, all that stuff has to be dialed in. Not only do you have to track, but you have to be really fucking good at managing yourself
Mm,
because until you start building a team, like you are the team, you are the VA, you are the setter, you are the closer, you are the coach. So like all that needs to really be in play, and then you kind of need to think about it, like if you were going to run a high performance sales team, what would it look like? And then you need to hold yourself accountable for that. The number one thing is literally just tracking everything before you start running ads, because when you start running ads, like there's a lot more stuff you're gonna have to start tracking.
mm,
So yeah, and then being able to make decisions based on the numbers and not like your emotions, I think is the biggest one ultimately, because you know when you start spending, when money really comes into the equation and like you potentially losing money on ads, which I mean, it's more of an investment if you are, going to learn and figure it out. But potentially like losing money short term on ads, you have to know like, hey, if I'm closing at this rate, if I'm, my set to close is this, if I'm booking this many calls, like, this is the problem here, or maybe the ad's the problem. And you have that way of thinking as opposed to just shooting in the dark and hoping that there's something's gonna stick.
yeah. No, absolutely, dude. I mean, you've been in takeover. The first thing I make everyone do is start tracking the KPIs because I know for a fact no one's doing that shit in the beginning. I
Yeah,
teach it, and I know that that is the first thing that goes in the trash can when someone goes through the program. Um, but you said something very interesting that I want to touch on before we wrap things up. You talked about the emotions of running ads. What kind of emotions did you experience? What kind of emotions can a coach expect? And why is it important to be data driven rather than emotion driven?
yeah. I mean, the I'll start with like the last. Or I'll start with the first question. Like when you see $900 coming out of your business account, like, and you're not making any money yet, it's like fuck. Like, damn, this shit sucks. It's like, oh, I'm gonna just turn this off, or I'm gonna switch to a new ad. But when you're making decisions based off of logic as opposed to emotion, or some people like cut their odds off and turn them back on, or like monitor by the hour how things are going and whatnot. But when you look at things in the macro, um, you know, I'll give you an example. Like there was a day last month where, I mean, it was like we did like $8,000 cash collected,
Hmm.
which was pretty fucking good. But then like the next week it tanked,
Hmm.
and it was just like kind of the law of averages. Everything just averaged out. And if I like switched a bunch of shit the week that it tanked, then the following week, you know, I mean, kind of the results would just be so random if you're just changing random stuff all the time without actually taking the time to figure out what's going on. So yeah, I mean, if you don't have accurate data, you can't make accurate decisions. And if you can't make smart decisions for your business and what your business needs, like you're never really going to grow.
I love it. I love it, man. Okay, let's wrap things up. what advice would you give to someone who is, at the 5 to 10K month mark? They're doing organic, they're fucking grinding their thumbs to the bone, and they're looking to scale, but they just can't figure out how to scale. What would you say to them?
I mean, I would tell them to do what I did, join Takeover, um, and be, be open to learning because, you know, learning outbound, learning, disco and sales and learning that whole process, it's great and it'll definitely get you to a certain point. But at the end of the day, what got you here won't basically always just going to get you to the end point. So I would say that's number one is like be open to the fact that, hey, like what got you up to this point isn't necessarily going to get you to the finish line. And then be like, you know, you can work as hard as you want, but same as an in-person trainer, it's only going to get you so far if you don't invest in taking the next step.
Love it, brother. Love it. All right, where can people give you a follow?
Yeah, Instagram would be the best place at I'm_Kali Fitness. Same for TikTok. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome, brother. Well, we'll wrap things up. And all right.